10 minutes. I don't have time to talk about myself. So I'll just tell you a story. Somebody who's very, very dear to my heart. This is David, and like 1 in 42 boys, 1 in 68 children are all David has autism. And one of the things that he struggles with are faces. Recognizing social cues in people's faces that we take for granted, he actually had to learn throughout his life. And so his dad recalls this beautiful story of how every evening before the family went to bed, they all got together in front of the bathroom mirror and basically made faces, and David was the one pinpointing them out. And I thought, this is a beautiful example of how learning social cues in autism can work. And the reality for a lot of kids is quite different. The prevailing approach to this, and oh boy, all my slides are probably going to be messed up, but we'll find out. So if you can read the prevailing approach to doing this in behavioral therapy is flashcards, essentially, right? And rote memorization of social skills. Outside of the context where these skills are actually going to be used. So we try to think about the way to kind of make every child's learning experience a little bit more like David's. You guys can see afterwards. So basically what we've done is we've built a verbal solution, right? So it's a Google Class app you put on, and it tells you how people feel, basically right then and there. There we go. So this is what's behind this. Was going to be the second video. What's running behind it is here my beautiful compound Nick. Is a machine learning classifier that tracks up to 100 fiducial points in your face using a face tracker, and then built on top of that classifies in real time whether a person is happy, sad, angry, and so forth. Now, let's go. Okay, so question: why is this difficult, or why is this interesting? Well, so from a machine learning point of view, the main industry application for emotion recognition technology is actually in advertising, right? It's in tracking the emotions of people watching ads in front of a video screen. As a result, a large body of training data kind of looks like that. Right? Whereas what we're trying to do is capture real social interaction, kind of the dinner table situation, right? And so as a result, we have to build real social interaction data, because the current data sets basically look like this. But what's worse is that even if you build a model that's 97% accurate on the standard concatenate data set or what have you, that's great for tracking ads. But if that 3% that doesn't work is the child's mom, it's completely useless for our purposes. Right? So a good bit of our work over the last couple of years, last 2 years, has been in building techniques to personalize to the family. So we built a calibration system that allows us to essentially iteratively train on the family very, very quickly by asking them to portray a certain emotion. Oh, are you sure that was happy? Didn't quite look. Oh yeah, all right, that's how you look. Okay, fine. And building an algorithm we call neutral subtraction. The idea is basically that just because grandpa has a brow furrow, he's not always angry. And so we can detect what his neutral face looks like in real time. Then presumably we can do quite a bit better. So we developed a heuristic for that. So then the question becomes, what do you do with it? Right? Of course, what you would have seen in the first video is the very basic step, which is you're walking around wearing Google Glass, and it tells you a word, somebody's happy. Turns out 6-year-olds aren't great at reading. So if you tell them that something is disgust, that's going to detract more from the conversation. So maybe you say yuck instead. But maybe actually there's some working color research that suggests that we notice colors within our peripheral field of view way before we notice shapes. There's emoticons that these kids get quite good at recognizing. So we validated a whole bunch of these in an iterative design trial to build the interface we ended up with. Now all of that is augmented reality. We believe that the future of this is going to be mixed reality, which means that rather than just having being able to tell you that there is an emotion that somebody's happy, we should be able to show you where it is. Right? We should be able to, in 3D, draw it out and point your attention to it and direct gaze towards the face. So what we've built is sort of an integrated system that you can play with later. and it runs on an Android phone and a pair of wearable glasses. We support Google Glass and a few other platforms right now. That really is designed to try to build a holistic learning aid. And so we've built a series of games on top of it, games like Capture the Smile, where you have to go provoke certain emotions, an emotion guessing game, and a series of other activities that can sort of aid the family in designing their own therapy. So one of these is this thing called the Parent Review app, which basically, if you think about the fact that we're tracking emotions throughout the day, we can jump back to that moment where dad was happy or mom got angry, and we can talk about why on earth that happened. Right? Perhaps quite importantly, at that point, we can also begin to annotate this. This is something that families are starting to do, whether they're playing the emotion guessing game, or whether they're writing comments in the parent review, or marking moments that they found important in social interaction. They're giving us some form of legal training data, and I'll come back to that. I'll skip this slide for time. So we've validated this and played with this in kind of a few studies at Stanford. We started by running an in-lab trial, which was sort of a very constrained setting. And I think the main learning from this, aside from the pretty graphs, which you can find in the paper, is that kids will actually wear this, which is not a given for kids with autism. We've had well over 150 kids use these devices. We've only had one device with bite marks so far. And that's actually quite strange because families sort of were telling us, especially for some lower functioning kids, there's no way he's going to put this on his head. And instead, what he did was sort of make it his. And a lot of kids wound up calling them their like superpower glasses, which is the branding we've adopted since then. We've run a phase 2 at-home trial with a number of families who we've worked with as sort of co-designers. So these are kids who've gotten to use this over a period of 3 months, different sort of dosages at home, and come into our office and tell us what we should do differently. And of course, we've also sort of tracked that with state-of-the-art outcome measures, and the SRS scores all go down significantly. Some kids cross boundaries and that stuff. Again, I'll point you to the paper. But perhaps more interestingly, about like 3 days into the study, we started getting the first few emails from parents that kind of really blew us away. And I'll just read out one quote from a mom who wrote that, "We already noticed something very dramatic I'd like to share. My son is actually looking at us when he talks with Google Glasses during a conversation. And it was noticed without the glasses from his teacher in language art yesterday. It's almost like a switch was turned. Thank you, my son is looking into my face." So, for moments in our Monday morning all-hands meeting, some people cried, but we could kind of take a step back and realize that, the controls and p-values and everything that we're going to try to prove, and we will be proving and are currently trying to prove over the next years aside, we got to help that family, and no one can really take that away from us. And so, to properly scale that up, we are running a full-blown randomized control trial with the treatment as usual control and a crossover design and all of that, which is a contentious thing to do as a designer, right? Because what we try to do is when people tell us that something is wrong, we want to fix it, and you can't do that in an RCT. So that's a difficult balance to strike, but it is something we're doing. I didn't even realize I had that in there. So, the treatments go up one of the controls on at least one of the outcome measures. More data to be published. And so let me come back to the slide I showed you earlier on the parent review. What if, maybe for David, the right thing that he really wants to track and that he needs help with isn't one of the basic Ekman standard emotions, right? What if it's something more complex that maybe he can mark up in the parent review app, and is there a way that we can help him with that? Well, if you take a step back of what we've tried to do is, So we've built a therapeutic tool that gathers data about treating for research and improving the AI and effective computing in general, interactively with the user. The AI system then uses that data to adapt and calibrate as the user interacts with it, as I described, but also to learn new tasks from that data. And this is what people commonly sort of refer to as active learning, and we kind of believe it's the future of everything. The realization we've sort of come to is that doctor-patient device interaction provides for a very, very rich context of doing human-in-the-loop learning that extends far beyond autism. And so, just to give you an idea, if we're trying to figure out that somebody's anxious, basic supervised learning isn't going to cut it anymore, because we can't bring 100,000 anxious people into the lab and then take pictures of them. That's just not going to work, right? So, we think unsupervised learning is maybe somewhere down here. We're doing some flavor of active learning by doing family calibration today. But we believe that if we can build models that know what they don't know, there's a whole lot more good stuff to unlock. Thanks so much.